Hello everybody, welcome to round 9 of the Division 2 Championship here in Zoom Racing League. We are here at the Hard Rock Stadium and we are here around the track that surrounds the Hard Rock Stadium. We are in Miami and we are ready for another thrilling race in Division 2 today. It is perfectly dry here in Miami. And how's it going? Magnuson Cube in the booth with me. How's it going, Magnuson?
Everybody to Miami Gardens, a track that one of the more recent additions to the calendar, only debuting last year, and I have to say this is not one of my favorite tracks, just to get it out of the way. It's a track known for its long straights, I think. Very long straights and very long curved straights, like Valencia back in the late 2000s. I don't know if you've heard of that track, but it's an interesting circuit, one with the walls quite close, with the very tight chicane section in sector 2 and the very long straights. It creates a setup conundrum and definitely requires more from the driver than a track like this than a normal permanent circuit would require. But yeah, lots of challenging corners, not a lot of grip around this 5.5 kilometer track, 3.3 miles per se. And you will have to remember the walls here are quite close to the racing surface. So mistakes could be punished in quite a few of the corners.
Yes, absolutely. So perfectly dry here in Miami today, at least in qualifying, but let's look at the standings here today. We'll start with the driver's standings, and we have Max in P1 right now. I don't think these are updated to Japan, but from Austria, Max is still in the lead. It's a Mercedes 1-2 in the standings, Andretti in the Haas is the top of a Haas sandwich with grid jokes in between. Duncan McCamick in P6 after John Ranger in the Haas, as I said previously, Wild Fury in P7, then the two AlphaTauris, P8 and P9. Then we have Simon Colston, Nick Hamrick, combined YouTuber, Mateo O, Dan, Dougie Falcons, OG, and Major Castleman, who debuted in Division 2 in Austria. We'll take it now to the constructors' standings, and we have Mercedes, of course, leading by quite a big margin. Then Haas right behind them, around 73 points behind actually. Then Red Bull is behind. Then after that we have Ferrari. Then it's Aston Martin, AlphaTauri, McLaren, Williams, Alpine, and Alfa Romeo. One thing, please disregard the name of this AlphaTauri that we have. Whoever it is a reserve driver, but hopefully they can produce as much action as we are used to in Division 2. So we'll go on board here with Dan for his first lap in qualifying around the Miami circuit. You want to break around the black box into turn 1, and I'll let you take it away.
Here we go, into the first corner. A hard right-hander leads straight into a left-right. Not a lot of grip, and it's very easy to spin. And then it's into a short straight into the fastest part of the circuit, 6th gear, and then down to 5th, and then hold it in 5th for this very long left. Tightens up drastically into turn A, and then it leads onto the fastest part of the circuit. The first DRS zone on a curved straight. A bit like those in Valencia, but this is the only curved straight on the circuit. With somebody out of the way.
Looks like we have an AlphaTauri in front, but should not be enough to hamper Dan. John Ranger goes fastest with a 127.866. And then, okay, Dan goes a little bit wide off that apex. You normally want to cut that curb, if I am not mistaken. But otherwise looks to have done well through these sectors. It's a 102.974 as he crosses the Sector 2 checkpoint. And now he's going to try and take the toe of the Ferrari, and now the car ahead of him. And he's going to try to get as much speed as he can on this final straight of the circuit. And then it's going to be a deep braking zone, very tricky traction on the exit, so he wants to line it up just perfectly, and it looks like he has no wobble as we are used to around the circuit, and he's going to cross the line in a bit now, and he's going to go 5th fastest with a 128.4 flat. Ahead of him is, of course, the AlphaTauri, the two Haas's, and the Mercedes in P1. Richard Castleman is right behind him. Actually, he's behind Kamari Mack, I believe that is, in the Alpine. And Major Castleman P7 at the moment with plenty of people behind him to go, and one of those is Duncan McCamick, who's just put himself P4. So, while we look right now, Mercedes are leading the championship by a huge margin, and with only 2 rounds, including this one, to go, it's going to be very tricky for them to lose their lead unless Haas can perform very well in this qualifying session and of course the race. If they can do it, if somehow Haas can make it into P1 at the end of the season, it will be a very major comeback for them. So they are starting off quite well with at least a 2-3 in qualifying right now, but Max on his out lap ready to go. I believe Magnussen Cube has disappeared, so I will continue.
All right, we're back.
Here he is.
Yeah, I just had to help. I just had to do a bunch of stuff for a minute. And we're on board with Dan again, onto the back straight, the other DRS zone, as he is on an in lap. And right now, Wildporos, combined YouTuber, of all people, is unexpectedly up into second. And when he's had a poor season by his standards. He was top 6 last season, and this season he's only had, I think, 2 results in the top 10. And now we come here to Miami after a longer break than usual because of the cancellation of the Japanese Grand Prix for D23, and he's thrown it in second. That's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, he's given himself plenty of time to practice, and that is very evident, but the man we are looking for right now is, of course, Max down in P14, but he's gone a bit quicker than we saw from Beamer in the second sector, so he is going to cross the line in a few corners' time here. But this qualifying and this race will really be, I'd say, the decider of the championship, because he can either go Mercedes' way as it is expected to, or we could have a complete upset here. And Max actually goes into the pits, so his first lap not good enough to what he wants to do for his team tonight, but we will continue to move. And Wildporos P1, so that is what we expect from the Mercedes, but with, like you said, the challengers of combined YouTuber and now even Simon Colston, this could be a very interesting race. It is definitely not a one-sided season for anyone in this championship.
Right, back again, because I had to do more stuff, more trivial stuff, but we move. Simon Colton has gone up into third, and X-Max has not actually completed his lap yet, so he is still, you know, in the still to be decided who does laps. And we'll finally, hopefully, do a full lap of the Miami International Autodrome with Nick Hamrick here. Or I'll finally be able to do an onboard of this track. As we see Wildporos out of the pit lane for his second run. And it is a very tight pit exit. Straight out onto the marbles. Let's see, with Nick Hamrick, as he goes through that horrible chicane sequence into a... just spits the drivers out onto the back straight.
Number 72 for Williams, Nick Hamrick. He's got his teammate in P10, but can he do any better? You, of course, being from the Williams team, Magnussen, what do you expect from these two? Do you know anything about their seasons or what they plan to do in this race?
Hopefully they qualify as high as they can. We'll see. Nick Hamrick into turn 1. Slight rise in elevation as we head down into this right-hand hairpin. Moves immediately to the left and then back to the right for a tight chicane. Not a lot of grip, as previously mentioned, before the fast S's. 7th gear and then down to 6th, and then it tightens up through turn 6, 7, and then right down into 8. Very long. It's down from 6th to 3rd, roughly, and then it's out onto the back straight. A purple first sector from Nick Hamrick. That is a 29.6 as he heads into the first DRS zone on the Miami International Autodrome. 337 kilometers an hour, down to about 105 for this left-hand hairpin. Switches immediately to the right for turn 12, and then it's the tight 13 leading right into the dreadful turn 14, 15. Lots of curb, and he's invalidated, which means that's no more.
Yeah, and invalidation followed up with a median moment, so whether that lap would have been good enough is the question, but it looks like some people are now starting their second hot laps, one of those being Major Castleman, and now he's going to be trying to improve his time drastically. A 1:28.993, he is the slowest of the time setters today, but 1.7 seconds up. This is going to be an immense lap for Major Castleman. If he can keep his delta down to where it is right now, he could go provisionally fastest. So we will see what the McLaren driver can do as he goes through the final corner now. And he's going to be having a really tricky time with the traction if it is like any other. But it looks like he's kept it straight, and now he's going to go down to the line. What will it be for the McLaren driver? It will be a 1:27.315, and he goes fastest on his second lap, but it is good enough for now. He is fastest, and now we have an AlphaTauri crossing the line, and that could be none other than this man right here, but it looks like he may just be starting his lap. But we have plenty of other people now crossing the line. Beamer and G is going to be the next one, 4/10 up in the second sector, and it's going to be a 1:27.438, good for third fastest. And the Haas look quite close, and now we have a Red Bull. I believe he's actually just starting his lap. And then we have a Mercedes of, that could be Wild Pours. Is it Wild Pours? And it is, and that is what we expect from a man high up in the championship, as he is 1:26.987 the first into the 1:26s. And I don't think he'll be the last, especially if his teammate X-Max can hook up this next lap here.
We'll see. Right on board with X-Max. Finally, hopefully someone completes a clean lap of the Miami circuit into starting the lap. A wide line to the hairpin at turn 17. And then it is a difficult traction zone, low grip, and then the two flat kinks of the final two corners, 18 and 19. DRS wide open, foot to the floor as Max heads down into the first hairpin. Down to third gear. Lots of speed on the way in, and then stay that right foot on the left and on the right, and then you can go back on the power before heading into the SS. Left, right, it's down to fifth for the second part, and then up in a sixth again before breaking through a long left. Tightens onto the first back straight. Lots of curve from Max. 29.6 in the first sector. The first of the big straights. A bit of a curve through 9 and 10 before heading right into the hairpin of turn 11. It's down to third gear. See where he goes. 237 kilometers an hour. 208 miles an hour. Down to second for Max. Could have taken a little more apex speed, but it's a lot more mattered in this section. See how he does this. No invalidation. Good amounts of curb. And then he's going to nail this corner a little bit close to the wall. 1:02.0 in that middle sector split. And now it's time for what is essentially one massive straight and a tight hairpin. 337 kilometers an hour into the slowest corner on the circuit, right down to 80 kilometers, 50 miles an hour for turn 17, and then it's a flat run from the exit of 17 all the way to the start finish line. 1:27.525 for Max. He goes on to fifth. And Jack Fletcher is up in a P8.
Yes, and the reserve driver from Division 3 lines up right next to his teammate, at least as it stands on the grid. P7 and P8 it is for the Ferraris, and Grid Jokes has actually invalidated his lap. I don't know if that was his out lap or his in lap, sorry. But
we'll just check right now, actually. It was his actual lap, but we'll see. In the end, qualifying here in Miami usually doesn't mean too much. The overtaking is not as much of a difficulty here as it is in real life, obviously. And even then, in real life, it hasn't been much of a problem. This is no Monaco or Jeddah, as we see X-Max cutting that turn 11. I don't know where he's going, but maybe just missed the brake marker. But right now, with 3 minutes ago, Wild Poros is on pole with a 1:26.9. Major Castleman in the McLaren, a 1:27.3. Nathan Doan, who just happens to be the McLaren team principal, is probably very happy over that. Beamer in P3, 1:27.4. Simon Colston, a 1:27.5. X-Max, a 1:27.5. Combined YouTuber still with his banker, 1:27.5. Gridjokes, 1:27.6. Jack Fletcher, 1:27.7. Dan, 127.7. Duncan McCamick, 127.8. Ranger, 127.8. The guy who shall not be named in the AlphaTauri, 127.9. Wild Fury, 127.9. And Mac is the last driver to set a time, a 128.1. And Nick Hamrick is yet to complete a lap. We'll ride on board with the pole man, Wild Toros. Can he find more time? He is safe, but we'll see just how much quicker he can go. Maybe anyone else could beat that. Maybe anyone else could beat that or match it. We'll see.
Yes, we will.
It is. You think someone's going to be getting there?
It's possible. I mean, Division 2, it's known for being pretty competitive, so I think that we have a little treat in qualifying. But let's talk about the track here. So Sector 1, known for its low amount of traction. We'll see that with Kamari Mack and Alpine, I believe it is. And it's just going to be very difficult for him to make it through all these corners, especially with he's going to be coming up to turn 7 soon. And it's a very lazy corner. It can seem like the car is understeering and then oversteering in the same section. Some drivers prefer lots of downshifts here, and some don't really. But he's gone up to 8th gear, I believe, and now he's down into 4th. So a bit of a higher gear approach from Kamari Mack, maybe for more traction, but it hasn't helped him. 1.162 seconds off, and it is not going well for the Alpine driver. Who else do we have on a hot lap here? Could it be Jack
Combined
Fletcher?
YouTuber just started, and he's in the first sector. Not a lot of traction here, and it is, in my mind, very Valencia-like. Lots of medium to high-speed corners that require only a slight downshift, the only difference being that the ones in Valencia were gentle kinks. These ones are actual corners. And the exit of turn 8 has its pitfalls. The Australian driver, nearly half a second down. That's not the time he needs, and this could be bad news, actually. He could drop. He isn't safe. Anyone from about P4 on could be eclipsed by anyone up to Dan, really, or anyone up to Ranger. At the middle sector, a long straight, and then the slowest section on arguably the entire calendar, complete with a dreadful chicane of 14 and 15. Low speed stability is key. And now Combined YouTuber heads onto the back straight. He's half a second down in the middle sector. Which means he'll probably have, and he doesn't have another chance. Braking for turn 17 is crucial. And then it's a very low grip, straight of sorts, up to the wall on the exit. Bit of elevation up there, and it is a very poor exit, and it's up to the line. 128.1. That is not an improvement. See, Grid Jokes. Can he find a bit of time here? The Singaporean driver. It's down to 3rd gear for the hairpin at 17. It is straight into 3rd, up into 4th, through to 5th, and then up into 7th gear. That's up to the line of 127.1. That, where did he has found a lot of pace, Grid Jokes. That's amazing.
Yes, absolutely. And someone I'm
up
very... Sorry, go ahead.
Up into P2. Go ahead again.
Well, someone I'm interested in seeing qualifying is Major Castleman, because he has improved a little bit on his lap, and he's in quite a good position already, so we'll see what he can do as he crosses the line in just a little bit. Can he do enough to make it a good lap? And he does. P3 for the McLaren, and like you said previously, as the McLaren team principal, I cannot be disappointed with that. Max goes across the line in just a bit here, and he goes now, and I believe he finishes P5, 8th.
He's P8.
Okay, a little bit different, but let's look through our order here. I think we will have a very good race here. So Wild Toros in P1, and Grid Joke surprisingly in the Ferrari in P2. The Singaporean driver doing amazingly. Then the two Americans, of course, Major Castleman and Beamer NG in 3 and 4. Then it's Simon Carlson and Alfa Romeo team principal. He's P5. Then we got two Canadians, of course, Kamari Mack, and then the man himself, John Ranger. We'll be talking you through it later tomorrow evening. And then
let's continue.
Yeah, we have Max, Combined YouTuber, Wild Fury, Dan, Jack Fletcher, Nick Hamrick, Karma, and then the AlphaTauri. So, go ahead.
An interesting grid here in Miami, and the whole field separated by only 9/10, which means this is going to be a close one.
Yes, it will be. And especially with a track like Miami that produces so many overtaking opportunities. And it's going to be dry, it looks like. So this is about as good as it gets for racing, at least here in the Miami circuit. But we'll see.
They don't call Florida the Sunshine State for nothing.
Yeah, but have you seen the weather in Miami? It gets quite rainy most of the time.
It is pretty wet in Florida sometimes. It can get pretty wet. We will be staying clear, I think, of the rain, which had the end of the D3 race for a split second. We will probably be clear of any showers, but we'll see. Nathan, who do you predict to take the checkered flag and win in the Magic City? Or Miami for short.
Not really about who I predict, it's who I want, so it's basically grooved into my mind now that Major Castleman will take the win. But here we go, 5 lights, and the 5 lights are now going to be out, and away we go. So it looks like Grid Jokes gets an okay start, but not good enough to take the lead into turn 1. Major Castleman goes alongside him. Around the outside he tries, but will he make it stick? No, it doesn't. It looks like the Alpine of Kamari Mack is slowing down a little bit, getting a bad exit, and now we have a little fight between Beamer NG and Simon Colston. Different tire compounds for the two drivers, but do they go side by side into this corner? It looks like they do. That will be very tricky to make a move, but it looks like Beamer NG takes his position back from Simon Colston. We have maybe a bit of switching positions in the background. John Ranger is now trying to take off after Simon Colston. We got Wild Fury and Dan going side by side. Dan goes ahead of him for now. It looks like we might have some overtaking happening in the back very soon, but a straight line, one of the longest straights in the United States, and no overtakes being made just yet. It looks like Dan will try to go side by side, or is that his teammate Nick Hammer going down the inside of Jack Fletcher? Is almost off the track, and now getting an okay angle here, and it looks like Nick is going to try and stick it around the outside, now the inside for the chicane, and now the Red Bull mechanic has been tapped, has tapped him, and that is how tricky it is to follow in this tight sector here.
It is very tight, but if you can somehow thread 2 cars there, you are a hero. It's probably testament to the sheer skill of the drivers that we didn't get a massive pileup up there, as Simon Colston and Beamer G are still fighting as they go through turn 17, 18, and the final corner. The top 3 remain unchanged, but we'll see. Simon Colston, he'll be ahead by the time the first corner braking has arrived, and the top 4 is unchanged. But watch out here, as Major Castleman is all over the gearbox of that Ferrari. So Grid Jokes got a great qualifying. He is struggling a little bit, and just as a side note, no one is starting on a soft tire. Everybody on the mediums or the hards, and here in Miami, the wear can be pretty bad. The rear tires get burnt off pretty quickly, and lots of traction zones.
Major is going to have a run down the inside of turn, I believe this is turn 9, and it
turn
looks
11
pretty clean.
Switches
turn
to
11 and switches to the inside. We might see the same move that we saw earlier, but he backs out of it and doesn't have a Red Bull flying into the back of him. So back through the tight chicane, doesn't look like any other moves are being made here. Very single file through this tight section. But we'll see. Into the next corner provides a very good overtaking opportunity, but it looks like Grid Jokes is just pulling away from the McLaren right now. So we will have DRS next lap, and that might just make it a bit easier to follow through all these sections here, or at least have a good run through the next set of corners.
It is an interesting situation with such massive straights here in Miami, very long. But yeah, DRS is going to be a powerful one. If Grid Jokes doesn't stay in Wildport's DRS, then well, he's done it out. He's going to be overtaken long before the turn 11 braking zone, and the Ferrari is struggling to stay in the Wildport's DRS, and Wildport's hasn't burned at all. But Grid Jokes, if he wants to win, he's going to have to pull out the middle sector of his life. Has he gotten into that DRS? I think he just might. He hasn't got into DRS, which means Major Castleman will fly past him halfway down the straight. And the best thing Gridjokes can do right now is sit in that toe as X-Max gets past combined. The not particularly difficult overtake for the championship leader and the defending champion.
This is now
But
in
yeah.
the back. Sorry, we had a bit of a tangle with two drivers, but it's looking like it's been sorted now. And the AlphaTauri trying to get past Duncan McCamick, who has the Aston Martin of Wild Fury right in front of him. So it looks like we could have some overtaking happening. Here is Major Castleman trying to get his run on early. He's dumped quite a bit of a battery for the first 3 laps here, down to 25%. Looks like he'll get a good run out of the final corner though. And will he be able to make a run down into turn 1? He puts on the DRS but doesn't put on the ERS. Does he know that he does not have the run to do it? He will look down the inside but will not go for it. And now he'll try and set up a move maybe on the next straight here.
Wadpors does not have a lot of battery, and he is under heavy pressure, the Mercedes driver. He doesn't have a lot. Major doesn't have a lot, and Gridjokes has half his battery, and I think one thing we saw Gridjokes do is he'll probably bide his time and fight when the pit stop window occurs, which could be as early as lap 11 and as late as lap 18 if you want to really stretch it onto the softs, but it all depends on your management, as Major Castleman takes the lead in Miami.
And so
And
now,
that's
sorry,
the
when
first time.
when he
The
takes
first time in a
oh no, go ahead.
and Simon Colston has spun into turn 11. He's down to last, or he got tapped or spun, but that's not good news for him. Not good. But back to the point, Major Castleman leads, and I think you, Nathan, the McLaren team at Bull, probably are over the moon with it.
Could not
See one
be
of your
happier. And
seeing one of your drivers win.
this would
Always.
be absolutely amazing. But we do have the likes of Wild Taurus. We know he's quick in P2 right now, but he's being chased down by Gridjokes, who, as you said, does have a battery advantage compared to the 2 cars ahead of him, and by quite a significant margin. So the 2 Haas's are 4.5 seconds behind, so it's really going to be a battle of the top 3 for now, as we normally see. But big DRS train, it looks like actually we're swapping positions with Duncan McCamick and Wild Fury, a move that's been looking to be made, but it looks like the AlphaTauri is going to try and make a move down the inside as well. Does not do so, gets alongside though, and maybe just spooks Aston Martin a little bit, but now he will follow through the next set of corners and maybe try to make an overtake on the next straight. Something I want to look towards is now the tire strategy, because we have many people on the mediums but also some on the hard tires. So I think the pace is being pretty much as expected, as the 2 Haas are going to swap positions now. They don't have much to lose because the car behind them is 1.5 seconds behind, so not losing much at all. Very clean swap of positions, but both on the hard tires, so it will be a very different strategy for the Haas drivers. It will be faster in the end, theoretically. But will they be able to make the pace on this stint count? Because it will be very difficult for them to make up more pace on the mediums if they start to maybe drop off towards the middle part of the stint. Then they'll be hung out to dry to anyone behind them. And now they're going to swap positions again. The Haas's, Beamer NG goes in the 4th position with Ranger right behind him now. And behind them, it doesn't look like too much is going on. It looks very calm here, and then Wild Fury is going to actually try down the inside of the AlphaTauri, and it looks to be going, he's not fast enough out of the exit. Maybe it's the hard tires that are setting him back a bit, but the AlphaTauri does not have DRS, so he will be trying to regain the DRS, and it looks like he already has done so. We have Williams of Nick Hamrick actually going a bit wide through turn 1, deep, locking the brakes. But Duncan McCamick not able to capitalize. Let's look towards the front of the field right now. The batteries remain the same, except for Gridjokes has actually gained more. But maybe, just maybe, Wild Taurus will be able to overtake here on this straight. He's got the DRS 210s. I'll let you take it away here.
He's got past them, surely. You can't defend no DRS, but anyway, back to the point with strategies. I think the pit window could open as early as lap 10, lap 11 for those that want to get the undercut onto the hards, and it could be a very late first stop for some of the hards who don't have much to lose and just want to bet on the safety car. For those, you could probably say around lap 20 and go to the softs for the final 10 laps of this race. But the problem with this is the track position, you're going to lose a lot if you pit too late. As we've seen before, the undercut is incredible. As Major Castleman is going to get past Wild Poros into the final hairpin. And that's position swap complete as the Haas's keep swapping DRS. Dan has been overtaken by Jack Fletcher, and Duncan McCormick gets past. Ooh, but not quite though. Jack Fletcher is ahead of Dan as they exit turn 17, but then Dan is going to get the drive. No one is going to get DRS, interestingly. Simon Colston, the first culprit of a time penalty. Nick Hamrick and the AlphaTauri, who shall not be named, side by side through the left of two, opens up to the right. Nick Hamrick holds a position, and there's no way past for the AlphaTauri into turn 4.
Nearly making contact, AlphaTauri with the Williams. But looks like some of these cars are just twitching as they take a lot of curb through the Sector 1, which can really upset the car. And with these attraction zones that can be very tricky, I think time penalties will be a big factor because you can just slide off the track and there will be nothing you can do. Wild Poros has not made a move yet, but I wonder if he will going into the next straight. We will have to see if he can carry enough speed through this little tight chicane and make it work. He's 4/10 back right now, 5/10.
Oh, he's out of slide.
Can he keep going?
Out of slide.
He does have a slide, and 8/10 back now, so does this put that Ferrari on the back of him? It doesn't look like it will, but with the battery advantage, we don't know.
Their jokes is saving up all the battery, but back to the point with the curbs, whoever can manage their rear tires the best will have a huge advantage here. Lots of the track is heavy traction zones, and it's painfully clear to see just how little grip there is around this 3.5 mile circuit. Lots of slow corners, turn 1, turn 8, turn 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, and 17. You can gain a lot of traction, but yeah, it's Wild Poros starting to struggle a little bit on those mediums. We're on the middle range here in Miami, C2, C3, C4, which means degradation will not be significantly higher. But this is a straight circuit, and there isn't a lot of grip, but on this track surface, and that could change the rule here as Dan gets spun around in the S's, and that's down to 14th for him. That's unfortunate. And Simon Colston pits onto the hards. I'll be trying to just save face and do an undercut, I think. This now. The top 3 still completely unchanged. Combined YouTuber on X-Max, and X-Max has regained battery. Combined has stayed the same. Yeah, doesn't have great battery. Doesn't have great battery charge. As we see, the top 3 again with DRS Grid Jokes nearly on a full charge. The 2 ahead of him have only about a fifth of their battery left.
And now the two Haas swap positions again. Like you said, actually, look how much battery Grid Jokes has compared to the front 2.
The only way forward for Grid Jokes will be mistakes, I think. If Wild Poros makes a mistake, that's going to put Grid Jokes right in his line of sight, and that will be brutal for the Mercedes because Wild Poros surely knows now the guy behind him is just chilling on a full battery.
Yes, absolutely. But I think there might be a strategy to this with the front 2. So if Major Castleman can take Wild Poros ahead with this DRS, and he can just give him a little tow, a little slipstream, a little bit of that extra pace in the straight line, Grid Jokes won't be able to really use his battery. And even in the situation where they're not really doing the strategy I'm talking about, it looks like Grid Jokes hasn't been using his battery anyway. So interesting strategy from the Ferrari driver.
He's just been letting it roll, I think. Been letting it go. And he's just prioritizing the late race. Maybe he's going for an undercut. The pit window, might I add, should open round about now.
Yeah, but I mean, if he's not going to use his battery, then it'll just be an advantage that he's wasting no matter what strategy he's trying to take. I mean, maybe if he's just trying to go for an undercut and then maybe use battery to gain pace while it really matters most, then maybe that could be a good strategy as Major Castleman goes a little bit deep out of the final corner. So does that put the Mercedes of Wild Pros onto his back? About 2 seconds, 2/10 is the gap. We will see if
It's
he
2/10.
can make it, and he'll maybe look down the inside, but he backs out of it at the last second. But he does have a better run out of turn 1, I must say, but through the sections,
No overtaking through 4. As mentioned, can't really pass to 4. Ranger spins on the exit of turn 1. That's him down and out. It is a horrible rejoin for those that have spun. He's going to drop right down to P13. And now the Haas swap has ended. It's not there anymore.
Yeah, and now they'll put the Haas of Beamer into a bit of a tricky situation, and it looks like Beamer actually dropped a position in the meantime to two cars. So I wonder if there was contact between the two Haas's, which would be a very, very dismal way to end your good strategy plan. But now combined YouTuber and XMax are ahead of Beamer, and it looks like as Duncan McCamick lost 2 positions, and he's actually tapping around the Williams of Nick Hamrick, and now he's tapped him twice into one corner. So maybe a little bit of frustration, or maybe just a bit of a late reaction to some early braking, but we will see. Those hard tires not looking their best, but Duncan McCamick, I bet he can make it work.
You will probably need a lot of pressure for these hards to be activated, and it is a track where your flaws, as where a tire can be easily exposed just in the way does it. Beamer gets past Combined onto the pit straight. There you go. Combined is going to get the DRS. It's a short run down to the first corner, which means the Aston Martin driver probably won't get much of an opportunity to fly past his former teammate and team principal. We go into the S's as the top 3 still completely running in a linear train. Nothing has happened here since, well, lap 1. Aside from some DRS swaps. But I guess it's better than... Or it's full of chaos. It's some action.
Kamari Mack might try and set up a move here, and he doesn't. The medium tire is not really going to work for him as he goes a bit deep, and now that allows Jack Fletcher to maybe have a little look, but hasn't done so.
We see Duncan McCamick. He is stuck behind Ranger as he goes through the Mickey Mouse section. And Griddo's dropping back a little bit. He's probably just trying to hold on to P3, but we'll see what he ends up doing. Maybe he's just dropping back to save tires and he's going to come back in the next few laps, or he's just dropping off worse than others. As we see, he has dropped off a little bit, but his pace is completely fine.
And now combined YouTuber, I mean, he's still behind the Haas of Beamer, and Beamer can't really catch up to Max, at least not now. So these two could be in it to fight right now, same amount of battery for the two drivers. But I mean, do you want to maintain your position right now, or do you want to go for more? That is the question for these two drivers. And same question for Kamari Mack, who's now trying to make his medium tires keep up pace with the hard tire runners. But can he do so as Wild Pros goes for a move down the inside of Major Castleman, and it looks like Major will try and stick it through the inside. And
he stuck it down the inside.
What a send from Major Castleman. And we have Dan around.
We have yep, Dan's around at the Fake Marina.
And it looks like Major could be under pressure now, but he's not feeling the pressure. Now, Grid Jokes is a bit closer to Wild Pros than Wild Pros is to Major, but still not.
Grid Jokes trying to use it. He's just not touching it. He's just not touching it. Just like completely not touching it. He should be more aggressive, I think, in these situations. When you have twice the battery, you should be way more aggressive when you're in that position.
I mean, twice he's got nearly triple the amount of Wild
Yeah.
Boros, as Wild Boros nearly goes into the back of Major, and now he goes a bit deep, and
News,
oh, do we have
X-Max is the
into
first driver
pits?
in.
So
He's onto the
13,
hards, surely.
Yeah, onto the hards.
Surely
he
onto the
goes.
hards. That is a set of C2 hards. That's going to put him on MP13, but it'll be a powerful undercut here. Degradation on this Park Street circuit in Miami is pretty high. And this pit exit is particularly horrible. It rejoins right on the firing line of the first chicane, and it just doesn't go. Dan is also coming into the pits. In the top three. Who's going to be the first to blink and trigger the undercuts, I think? Who's going to be the first one from these three to trigger that undercut? And it is up to, I'd say, 2 seconds of race time here. A massive advantage just through pitting early onto the hards.
Yeah, and I'm still kind of confused why Grid Jokes hasn't used any of his battery. This is only an advantage that is going to go away from him as the time goes by, and he's not even thinking
Maybe
about
he's just
using it.
preparing for an overcut. He did it in Austria. He could be a bit of an
It's
overcut.
possible, and there
Wild
goes Wild
Boros
Boros.
dives into the pits. He is the first to blink, change from the C3s onto the hard C2s, and those should get him easily to the checkered flag.
Here comes
We see
maybe Beamer on combined. Will he go around the outside?
Into turn
Looks like he might
one, and
try
side by side, combined.
for the
holds
switchback.
it.
And
No switchback.
no, sir.
He's held it.
But a good run here from Beamer. Can he make it? No. Just the way
No
the corner
overtaking.
opens up, it's just very difficult to go side by side there. But no
Ooh,
battery.
and the AlphaTauri spun out.
Where is that? Oh, and he's
Turn
almost
3.
found himself into the wall. And almost into the
it
wall
goes to
again.
the car, the fastest, probably the most dangerous corner. He stopped in the middle of the track. He's reset.
Here we go.
Probably just waited for those guys.
Yeah.
And Duncan McCamick has pitted from mediums to hard, from hards to mediums on lap 13. That's early. That's very early.
Yes, very early, but you know, Red Bull is known for their strategy, so let's hope that it's a good one now. And somewhere in the meantime, Gritchokes has actually gone past Major Castleman.
He's used all of his
Look at how
battery.
much-
Well,
yeah. So this must be an in-lap for the Ferrari. Very
Has to
interesting
be.
strategy to have dumped the battery on one lap and only have gained one position and some tenths from it. But we will see if the
And-
Ferrari goes into the pit. Surely he does, and
Yes,
here
he will.
goes. And Major Castleman stays out, so the overcut is now in action for the man who's known for his strategy in his races. 17% battery, and now it'll be all to play for at the top three with their strategy. Wild Boros has actually found himself in a bit of a traffic here, so not a
he's
good
probably going to be
strategy
out
right
ahead.
now.
He's going to be out ahead, I think. The undercut is just too powerful, but it'll depend on how quick he can get past Wild Fury. If he can't get past... Ooh, there's a spin.
It's,
Combined YouTuber. Gets spun
yeah.
around, I think, a little.
Or was it him? It might have been, I think. But it wasn't Aston Martin. So
Yeah, combined. Lost a lot of time there into turn one. We
Now
see
it's-
and we see Grid Jokes has overcut Wild Boars. That's a rare case of the overcut working. And someone is going to have a lot of battery, but that slipstream is incredibly powerful here. To a tune of some seconds, I'd say. It's a very powerful tow. Onto the back straight. Wild Boars on Grid Jokes. Ferrari on Mercedes. And that Ferrari, the other Ferrari,
Wow.
is going to...
Wild Boros has actually
is-
overtaken the other Ferrari in that sequence.
Jack- It's both Ferraris, and Jack Fletcher just isn't giving up the position. He's not playing the team game, but he's a reserve, to be fair.
I mean, I was expecting Grid Jokes to be making the move on Wild Boros, but no, Wild Boros absolutely throws it down. Actually, sorry, I wasn't expecting Grid Jokes to make a move, but now Wild Boros has actually found him in a position where he can be 2 positions ahead of his main rival for the win here, and he has done just that.
He's
The
out ahead
Ferrari is
of-
now switching positions. Grid Jokes trying to make it past his teammate, and has done so in good
Combined
fashion.
YouTuber into the pits. Same with Jack Fletcher.
And Major Castleman still saying out lap 16. Could he possibly go in for the soft tire? Do you think that's an okay strategy? I mean, he's losing quite a bit of pace per lap, and just going on board with him, seeing how he crawls through the likes of turn 7. Could be very interesting to see what this McLaren is up to, but soft tires near the end could be a great strategy.
It could be, but we'll see who eventually does it. Combined YouTuber out ahead. No, not out ahead of Nick Hamrick, but he should be out ahead of quite a few people that haven't pitted yet. The likes of Wild Fury and Ranger, and probably Simon Colston, who is on very old hards. But Major Castleman could go onto softs and just drive the laps of his life. He'll probably drop somewhere behind Wild Fury, probably closer to X-Max, but these could be the laps of his life here if he wants to stick that soft tire on. Dan, the next driver, with a time penalty. A 3-second time penalty for the Williams team principal, yeah, he's staying out, so it'll be onto the softs, I think. It'll be for sure onto the softs. We'll see Ranger and Wild Fury. They go side by side through the final hairpin. Which one of them is going to trigger the pit lane? Both of them are going to be in the pits. It's a battle of the pit crews here. Combined YouTuber.
Nearly going down the... Actually, a Wild Fury almost going down the inside of the pit lane. Interesting, but okay. Big stat
it's
here.
A battle.
Yeah, Major Castleman is 1.7 seconds slower than Wild Pros per lap.
Onto the mediums for Ranger and Wild Fury, and they are going to be behind, combined at least. But the Aston Martin driver has bigger priorities. Probably he's got to get past Jack Fletcher if he does. He's got to get past Nick Hamrick, sorry, if he doesn't want to destroy his race.
I mean, with that spin into turn 1, you could argue that his race isn't exactly going how he hoped it would, and he'll have DRS into this next straight, so he's making progress. Maybe making a move later this lap. We will have to see.
No, it won't happen this lap, but yeah, we'll see how the chicane goes. 134 kilometers an hour, and it's straight down a second. And Duncan McCamick gets a penalty. Duncan McCamick has a time penalty. Major Castleman, after 17 laps on a medium tire, he's finally pitted. What will he go on to? He'll go on to a
soft
setup. Soft, yeah. It's just like what you did in Zandvoort. Waited for the safety car, 20 laps on a set of tires, and this could create a final, quite a lively final few laps here, actually. Combined YouTubers finally got rid of the Williams of Nick Hamrick, but we'll see whether he pulls out a gap or not in the first sector. The train up ahead, led by Duncan McCamick.
Yeah, so Duncan, I believe he cut the chicane, and now he's ahead. Now he's just going to be trying to take away from this little train here, because he can lose many positions if he doesn't. But the main story that we look towards tonight is now the one of Major Castleman, who really needs to pick it up on these softs if he wants to have any contention for a win. He's losing a bunch of time down the straights, of course. That is due to the DRS that Grid Jokes has now inherited, and he's got plenty less battery than he did last time on his stint. So now I wonder if he's going to try and maybe start making moves here, because, I mean, he has the better tires.
He's going to have it.
He knows.
Is he going to have it? Wild Thor is trying to break the slipstream, and that's not going to happen. But Major Castleman has gained half a second in just the space of about 5 corners. That's just how powerful that DRS, that soft tire is. Bieber gets past X-Max, and Duncan McCamick is pulled clear of the DRS train. He's up into 6th.
Yes, he is. So he's broken into 3 seconds now, and he's gaining so much time through these first few corners here. He's going to lose a bit on the straights. That's just natural because of the DRS that Grid Jokes has. But through the corners, let's just look at how low the time goes, or how much it drops.
4.3.
Like 2/10 through about 4 corners, so this is looking good for Major. But will the softs last enough where he can defend for his life, assuming he gets ahead of the cars ahead, of course?
It'll be an interesting ending. It's kind of like a throwback to some of the strategies on F1 22. A lot of it, big overcut, spinning very late onto the medium. This is what it reminds me of. But we'll see. The gap has come down to 3.5 seconds. It's not just 3 seconds between Gridjokes and Major. That's less than 2. That's less than 3 now. So Major on those softs is absolutely on it. Major on the soft, absolutely on it. He is destined for glory. Gridjokes isn't going to get past Max just yet. But the Ferrari man has to probably worry about bigger things here. Because at this rate, in the not too distant future, he'll be overtaken by X-Max, by Major. 1:29.8. Fastest lap of the race for Major Castleman.
By around 2 seconds as well. So that is the rate of what Major is gaining. And it throws me back time, and he takes a very wide line through that corner just to gain maybe the maximum speed. But through these corners, I mean, now he can start to see the flashing, not flashing light, sorry, but the red Ferrari ahead of him. And so 1.9 seconds now, so under 2 seconds, and it is only going to get better for now from Major
He'll be
Castle.
back in DRS pretty soon. He'll be back in the DRS very, very soon.
Has some similar battery to Gridjokes as well, so this is pretty much a level playing field for the top 3 here.
Yeah. We'll see what happens in the end.
It's just gained so much time through this little Mickey Mouse ear section, as I like to say it, as it goes into the tight section.
It's
But
now,
look,
he's
almost
under 2 seconds from the leader. It's going to be a big one. Those softs are being put to work, and the gap now down to 1.1. Gridjokes, is he going to get the run? Not quite. Not into the hairpin. And this is where the softs are going to have a crazy amount of potential. This exit here, we'll see. Is he in DRS? He might be. He'll have to wait another time. He'll have to wait a bit more.
But I think we might be seeing a strategy from the Ferrari Gridjokes. He's saving his battery again, and that is helped by the DRS that he is getting from Wild Pros. And now Major Castleman, he really needs to clear these 2 cars ahead of him and try and save his battery. And really just defend for his life at this point. He can try and maybe pull away, but he can also try and save his tires to give a consistent fight to the drivers behind. But 5/10 now the gap, and he's closing through every second of this corner, as it looks like Nick Hamrick actually has a spin into turn 1. But we go back now to the top 3. It doesn't look like Major will have anything to do on this straight unless he goes for a miraculous send. But with
We'll see Gridjokes on Wild Pros into turn 11. Not quite there for Gridjokes, but he has to worry about Major on those fresh softs. Very powerful tire. They've still got their peak performance almost. They've almost got peak performance still, those soft tires, and that's what they need. Combined YouTuber is past Simon Colston, and there's a spin. There's a spin. Dan has spun again at roughly the same corner.
Okay, here's 1 for Major, but will he go for 2 in 1 straight? Yes, he will.
2 and 1, yes.
Down the inside,
he's into the
and
lead.
He's made it, and now Gridjokes is going to go side by side with Wild Poros, and now these 2 may battle into turn 1. Looks like
no possibility for Wild Poros to get a chance here. Wild Major Castleman has made that soft tire work, and he is stormed into the lead of this race.
Wild Pros has flown into the corner, and he's completely messed
gone
up.
wide,
so he may
he's
be
probably
out of the
it.
DRS.
Yep, he's out of DRS.
There he goes, and out of battery as well.
Could this be Gridjokes' first ever win in ZRL?
I mean, it could be Majors as well, so we will have to see.
2 first-time winners, but that soft tire is probably putting pay to Gridjokes' plans to win here.
Doesn't look like he'll have to run into this corner, but I don't know if he'll have to run for quite a little bit, because the soft tire's still not quite out of it yet. They don't have as dramatic of a drop off as the mediums or the hard tires, but as
Dan is
retires from
retired
the
in the
session
pit.
in the pits.
Yeah, it's in the pit lane. It's in the pit lane. And he has left the session. Grid Jokes has lost DRS to Major Castleman. That has probably put paid to the Singaporeans' dreams of winning the race, unfortunately. Or fortunately, if you're a McLaren fan, or the McLaren team principal, obviously. But yeah, it is not. Major Castleman has made those softs work, and he has somehow made up about 6 seconds in the span of 2 laps, and he has thrown it into the near win. But we'll see if he wins or not.
Yes, and other than the top 3, there's not much excitement going on the track. The closest gap we have is 6/10, and that is from Duncan McCamick to Max, and now that's going down and down, so this could maybe be a bit of a boring race unless drivers like this little group of drivers here, John Ranger, Jack Fletcher, and Lyle Fury, unless they can close it up. We will have our eyes focused on the front pack for probably the rest of the race, because of course that is where races are won.
Yeah, we'll see. Jack Fletcher, though, really wide through turn 7. I think he just got DRS from Wild Fury. That has to be a plan, but I don't think he's going to get any places given.
Yeah, now 2 seconds, over 2 seconds is the gap for Grid Jokes. So 6 laps remaining, even if there is a huge drop-off for Major Castleman and his soft tires. Will that be enough for Grid Jokes to pounce on? So let's look at the lap times as Major crosses the line for lap 24. It's a 1:31.1, and for Grid Jokes it's a 1:32.1. So 1 second a lap quicker right now is Major Castleman. So those soft tires are definitely not dying out right now.
Yeah, the hards have hit their drop-off as well. They're past 20% tire wear for pretty much everybody, except for Nick Hamrick, who's on fresh mediums, but the softs will drop off, I think, near the end of the race. We'll see how intense this drop-off is, but it is more accelerated than a regular tire, than a C2, which Grid Jokes and Wildport are currently on, because Major Castleman is on the second softest tire there is, the C4. But we'll see who does it in the end.
I believe that was a 31.1 in the first sector, and it was a 31.6 for Grid Jokes. So still
the softs just have
much quicker.
Yeah, the softs have the pace. Nick Hamrick gets the fastest lap of the day.
On the mediums.
At least a consolation prize for Williams. For my team, maybe I finally don't dump it into the nearest wall in D1 tomorrow.
Yeah, and so Grid Jokes has lost around 7/10 this in just 2 sectors, and now we have an Alfa Romeo around.
Simon Colston spun again.
Simon Colston, and
he's doing a drift show. He's doing a stunt show.
We might have a virtual safety car.
Yeah, a virtual safety car. Virtual safety car. It's a bit early. I think it'll be a virtual.
This can really help.
It'll be solely. Yeah, this is played right into Major Castleman's hands here. He is the man who, if there is something going on, if there's anyone who wants VSCs on repeat, it is Major Castleman after all.
Yes, and he might be able to get a good jump out of the virtual safety car too. Just doesn't want to get a drive.
And Ranger gets a 5-second penalty.
Seconds.
Yeah, Ranger with a 5-second for speeding in the pits.
So we'll see, when will Major go? It looks like he is. I don't know when this virtual safety car
It's not
is
ending just yet.
Going flat out.
We'll get an idea.
Be in a high gear. So I don't know how
just
long
remember
it takes
the
marshals.
Yep.
But here we go.
The more of this VSC, DRS has been enabled. The VSC has ended. We'll see whether Grid Jokes gains anything. He's gained a little bit, but nowhere near enough, obviously. Nowhere near enough to attack, though.
Wow, it'd be a miracle if you could attack just off of the virtual safety car alone.
Yep.
but
He's played it to perfection, but it'll probably only be P2 for the Ferrari driver.
the strategic masterclass, I have to say, for Major Castleman. But we look towards Duncan McCaffrey now, and he has closed up to X-Max, and now onto the battery. We'll have the DRS, I believe. Yep, here it comes. He's going to have a very clean run on the Mercedes, and it's going to be like a piece of cake for Duncan McCamick, and he goes into P5.
It's what overtaking Mercedes is in real life for the Red Bulls, usually.
True, very true.
Yeah, very true in this modern Formula 1, but we'll see. Major Castleman, those soft tires have probably finally hit their 30-40% mark. But in the end,
doesn't seem to be affecting him that much, does it?
No, the hards are also past their best. Every tire is past its best, actually. So that will mean something. Ranger probably gonna get fastest lap because he's on a brand new set of softs. Well, that's no real surprise there for who's gonna get fastest lap, but Major Castleman should have this in the bag. And I mean, should.
Though.
We'll see, but hopefully I don't, but
I think he's just
he's
doing a
looking
very
good.
job of nursing his tires as well, because very controlled on his throttle and brake inputs, and he's gained plenty of time this lap. I believe he will have gained around 4/10 this lap alone. So even if he starts to lose out on pace in these final 3 laps here, I still think that Grid Jokes won't be able to catch up.
No, he's running out of time. He's running out of time, Grid Jokes. There's only 3 laps left. He's got to eat out over a second a lap if he wants to catch up, and those softs are just not dying. They refuse to die. As Combined YouTuber gets past Mac, who goes way off the track into the proper Gulf of Mexico.
Gulf of Mexico, he nearly has made it to, but pretty much the only really battle I guess we have now is the one between Max and Duncan McCamick, which
it's not really a battle though. Duncan has a time penalty.
Yeah, but we can maybe see a move from Max here with how close he is, and
he's gone wide. He's gone very wide.
And so with the steward's release of track limits at turn 6-7, do you think that could be maybe a warning if the game didn't already give him one? Or
he's gone. It's so much slower on this game to do that line that it just isn't worth it.
I mean, there's the lack of traction as it is on track in that corner, but off the track I can only imagine what it's like. But 3.6 seconds the gap now between Grid Jokes and Major Castleman. We will have 2 laps to go when Major crosses the line next. And it's 40% battery, around the same for Grid Jokes. It's looking like it's going to be a walk in the park for the McLaren driver here.
We'll see if Major Castleman's looking good. 10 kilometers remaining for the McLaren driver before his first win of the season, and I think his first win in ZRL arrives today as Simon Colston gets past Nick Hamrick.
And now Jack Fletcher right on the back of the AlphaTauri. Should be an easy move for him onto the battery. He barely even needs DRS, and he's already had beforehand. So there goes the Ferrari of Jack Fletcher. And his teammate, P2, it's only going down for him. 7/10
only
slower.
down.
And yeah, so now 4 seconds is the gap, and now Wildcross is even starting to close up a tiny bit. Will he be able to make a move on the last lap? I don't know.
Nah, very unlikely.
I mean, you never know what can happen in a Formula 1 race, though.
Yep, so it's gonna take something special if Grid Jokes wants to fuck it up.
Wow.
He's only gonna finish P3, but even if he does fuck it up, he's gonna finish P3 anyway. But I think he'd rather have the extra points for finishing P2.
Couldn't have said it better myself, except I could have. So 1.8 seconds now. I mean, he doesn't even have the tire advantage, but he's still gaining a little bit of time. So Major Castleman will go across the line for the penultimate time in this race. This is all the fans on the
One
left-hand
lap
side.
remaining for Major before his first win in ZRL arrives, unless he's won in the past, which he could have.
I think I would remember, but even if I don't, then still a win to be celebrated as much as
Yep.
the first would have been. He's going through the first
Every
sector
win
now.
is celebrated.
Exactly, especially
Major here.
for McLaren.
Major here, absolutely chilling in P1, 4-9 up, near 5 seconds up the road. Wild Poros is nowhere near close enough to getting P2 off Grid Jokes.
So, red light flashing for fuel, but I don't think that will be a problem, given that he has one straight to go. He makes it through the corner, a little bit of wheel spin, but it is okay. Maybe a bit of a glitch for me. But he will go
Got
down
enough fuel for
on the
sure.
straight one last time. Max makes it past, and now Duncan McCamick will try and find it back, but he won't do so. But that does not matter, because we have Major Castleman, who's going into the last braking zone now of the entire Grand Prix. But he has been doing amazing with the strategy, and he's going to go through the final right-hand sweeper now, and he's going to cross the line, and he's going to be a winner in Zoom Racing League, and he's going to be a winner for McLaren. Grid Jokes is about to cross the line now. P2 for him, as a good strategy for him, brings him onto the podium, as does it to Wild Pros from P1 to P3. It's not the best race, but still good for the championship with his rival in P5. Duncan McCamick's going to end up right behind him, and then the two Aston Martins will be behind those two. But we had a pretty decent race. I mean, not a lot of wheel-to-wheel action, but enough where it mattered for all these drivers to make up positions. And Major Castleman ended up being the main beneficiary. John Ranger going down to P10 after his penalty, and now Jack Fletcher will be the next to cross the line with AlphaTauri. Then
Then it's
yeah,
the
Simon
the
Colson.
person who shall not be named, and then the final two, Simon Coulson and Nick Hamrick, round off your finishers from what was a pretty interesting Miami Grand Prix, even if it didn't deliver much on track action. But yeah, super great race from Major Castleman. Very well executed, very very strong overcut. So that could be something to look out for in D1 maybe. The overcut could be an incredible strategy.
Yes, and
But
I have to
but
say,
here
it was
is-
a pretty clean race, wasn't it?
Yep, here's your final order. Major Castleman, Grid Jokes, Wild Poros round out your podium. Beamer NG, X-Max, Duncan McCamick up 8 spots. It's a solid drive from the Red Bull team principal. Combined YouTuber with a solid drive to finish 7th. Wild Fury right behind him in 8th. Mac, Ranger, Jack Fletcher, 9th to 11th. The AlphaTauri, who shall not be named, in 12th. Simon Colston, Nick Hamrick, and Dan round off your classified drivers. And then it's off to
Race
interviews
director.
to end off what has been a good night's race. And then
Yes. We'll switch over to the view screen now.
yeah,
I
we're
will.
right over.
Let's go.
We're right over with the interviews.
So in P3, who did we have? Was
Wild Poros and P3.
then it was Grid Jokes,
Yeah.
somewhere in there, and then Major Castleman, of course.
Yeah, time to get the
And
top 3 onto the podium. Or onto the waiting room, more like.
And so mentally repaired is Major Castleman for that win. So congratulations to him. Exactly what I was hoping for in this race, and I predicted it. And what can I say?
Let's move him into broadcast.
Welcome, Major
Congratulations
Castleman.
on our first place finisher, Major Castleman. How was your race?
Oh, it was pretty good. I really enjoyed the fighting at the front. I think Porus Kudrux and I were just kind of cruising for maybe the first 10 or so laps, just trying to, make sure we had a comfortable gap before we really started fighting with each other. Um, but I felt like my pace on the mediums was holding up pretty well compared to them on the um, compared to them on the mediums. So I figured I would try to stick it out and see what would happen. And I've raced here in the past, so I knew kind of how long I needed to go to make the softs reach to the end. So I decided, heck, I'll stick it out and maybe something funny happens.
All right, solid overcut. A rare case of it working on this game. So nice to see some differentiation in race strategy, and yeah, very good race from Major Castman. Congratulations to you. Now we'll get our P2 finisher in Miami, Grid Jokes.
Congrats, Major. Let's go.
Hello, Grid Jokes. Congratulations on second place.
Thanks.
How's your race?
For the first 13 laps, I was just sitting behind the two, trying like store ERS and hoping to like get them to fight so I can get my ERS and just go past them both, but that didn't happen. And for the last couple of laps, I was trying to push to try and catch Castleman, but his softs were just too good and I couldn't catch him, so I just settled for second. Yeah.
Solid race for you. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. Hopefully you have a good one in D1 tomorrow as well.
At least it's a podium, not off luck.
Yeah, true.
Alright, we'll move on to our third place finisher, Wild Poros. Get him into the broadcast booth. Alright, congratulations on third place, Wild Poros. How was your race?
Thank you. It was a race.
Yeah, definitely a race.
Yeah, I was just too many mistakes under the bridge and not pushing quite hard enough on the first sector, unfortunately. So could have been more, but it is what it is.
So
P3 could be worse.
yeah.
Exactly.
So with your competitors in the podium, of course, we had Major and Grid Jokes. I mean, in the first stint, maybe the second, what was your plan? I mean, you had different strategies, of course, all three of you. Did you have any idea where you would end in the race or any kind of goal?
Yeah, I was trying to go for the undercut because we were just all so close and in DRS train for basically the entire first stint. So I figured hopefully that we'd have a big enough undercut to break that DRS. But unfortunately, that Grid Jokes had I think like 100% ERS basically on his final lap on that stint, so he was able to nullify that. And then of course Major with just the kind of crazy tire strat with the hard of the soft they managed to pull off and hold on at there at the end. So it was I was aiming for like a P2, maybe a P1, but it is what it is sometimes.
Yeah. Congratulations on P3, and we'll see you all in Qatar for the final round of Division 2. It is a full qualifying under the lights at the not very new Losail International Circuit. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day, and good night.
Night, guys.